So my thinking today is a method to pay off your house in half the time, or to potentially save half the money that it costs to buy a house. And this is actually a strategy that I implemented at one point along my own journey. But the first idea, if you have a house that you're paying off right now and it is a low interest rate, this principle probably isn't for you, because if you're in like 2.5% interest rate, 3%, 3.5%, it's probably better just to keep paying those loans and invest the difference. So that's such a low mortgage rate, and it traps people in their homes now, but hey, it's really cheap. So this is for anyone who has a higher interest rate. And in my area right now, you can get about 6.5% for a mortgage. I know that varies across the country. It's different. But I know a lot of folks got locked into mortgages at 7%, 7.5%, 6.5%. So this strategy may work for you. If I looked up my own house, how much a loan amortization would be, we have about a $500,000 house, and it's $33,000 or $3,300 a month of equivalent mortgage payment. So yearly, you're about $40,000, and the method to try to pay this off early is actually, there's two strategies. One is you can make extra principal payments towards your mortgage. And if you know what a loan amortization is, it's like how much per each payment do you pay in interest and how much do you pay in principal. If you pay the principal off over 30 years, you kind of, the interest stacks up and you end up saving a ton off the overall time. And so that's something I did when I was younger, is I would make extra principal payments. And back then we would send in checks. It wasn't digital, but you'd actually send in. And so I'd always include an extra check that said principal payment only. And was really important, because banks didn't know what to do with that right off very easily, because not very many people make extra principal payments. So it was important to specify that, hey, this payment was an extra principal payment. And then, anytime you pay extra principal, then you knock out that particular value for the whole 30 years that you're making that loan. The next idea is, probably not for the first few years that you're in a property, because chances are you have to stretch your budget as far as it possibly can go just to get into a house. But maybe, after 8 years or after 10 years or something, you've had a chance for your career to develop, you've gotten raises, and so your income has gone up. One option that's really interesting and intriguing is to refinance the house with a 15-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage. And why that's intriguing is because you get typically a lower interest rate. So I looked up a local credit union, and they'll do a 30-year loan for about 6.5%, but a 15-year loan, you get about 5.5%. So you get a 1% change in interest by doing a 15-year loan instead of a 30-year loan. So that right off the bat means you're paying for the same amount of house 1% less, which makes a big difference. Now, the hard part is that you actually end up paying more per year for your payments. So you pay a little less interest, but you have to pay more in principal. And so I looked up an amortization, and doing a 30-year loan on the value of a house like mine is $3,300 a month. But if you have a 15-year mortgage, it's $4,100 a month. So that's a difference, how did I calculate that, of like $740 a month. So your income has to be high enough so that you can afford that in order for this to work. And it changes your yearly payments from say $40,000 a year to something like $49,000 a year. So you definitely have to have the income in order to make this work. But the magic behind this is, because you're paying more principal and less interest, you actually pay the whole mortgage off in half the time, and you also save half of the overall interest charge. So in a mortgage amortization, I looked at my house, and if you pay it off over 30 years, you end up paying about $500,000 in interest. So that basically doubles the price of the home. But if you have a 15-year loan, it's only $240,000 of interest. So you pay for your home in half the time, and you also save half the interest cost. So that's a really interesting way of kind of thinking about how you play the system to pay for your home quicker, how you can get a pay less overall for it, half as much in fact, but you do have to be willing to pay more each month in payments, and that can make a big difference. So check it out. Think if you're a candidate for that, you're a higher interest house, 6.5%, 7%, 7.5%. It makes sense to pay off your house rather than investing if you're in those high interest rates, and refinancing your house in a 15-year loan instead of a 30-year may end up saving you a ton of money. So check it out, like, subscribe. We'll see you. Bye.